Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Monday. Oh, goodness gracious, y'all. Today is for Wednesday, February the 25th, 2026. Wednesday, February 26th. Well, this recap, everybody's going to be straight to the point. I'm just going to cover, you know, some of the folks they showed today that I thought was interesting. Because look, I got to take down my studio equipment here because moving company comes tomorrow. So anyway, got to get these videos up, edit it, and upload it. So let's talk a little bit about what happened. We have Emma. She showed up. There's Geo sitting in her apartment. Now it is still winter in Port Charles. Now, not to say that it would be cold in your apartment, but this is the winter time, and he just sitting there shirtless talking to Fizz. And Fizz is looking up at him saying, "What the heck are you dressed like, man?" You know? Okay, look, I'm already getting off topic and talking. And he was gonna go visit Emma, fly out to Berkeley to see her tomorrow, but she comes to the front door. And she lets him know that she and her mother flew to see Anna and they wouldn't let her see them. Said it would only agitate her and make her worse. Really? I would wonder, is my grandmother, Robin, is my mother okay? Because Robin is a medical physician. Now, Robin is not a psychiatrist, psychologist, none of that. But I'm a doctor and I'm a physically speak to my mother, right? So Emma did say that I guess somehow they let them get a peek on her in some atrium. She's looking calm. So they did lay eyes on Anna. And I'm thinking, okay, at least I know you laid eyes on her. Said she seemed calm and just sitting there, relaxed or whatever. And I'm thinking, sedated, heavily, right? But whatever. I guess Fiona is on a good vacation right now. So she says, my mother really needed me. Um, so I feel I should be there for her. And I told her I was moving back to Berkeley. And Jill just looked. And he says, okay, okay. If that's what you feel you need to do, I understand. I mean, we could try to make the long distance thing work. I mean, I don't want to lose you, Emma. He says, I will even move out to California to be with you. And she looked at him. She said, you would do that for me? And he's like, yeah. And she said, wow. She says, well, my mother told me that if it wasn't for my grandmother's situation, would I be moving back to Berkeley? Would I want to move back to Berkeley? And she says, because my mother said moving back for her is not the answer. And she says, I told my mother, no, I wouldn't be moving back if it wasn't for the situation with Anna. She says, so my mother wouldn't have it. And she says, so I'm back here to be with you, you know? And he's like, oh my goodness. Oh, they were both so happy. And he's like, why didn't you call me? She said, I felt it was better to get a car. You know how the airport is. And I'm thinking, doggone right. Please. That's the only thing I do now. Uber back and forth to the airport, please. So anyway, he showed her, he laughed and he showed her his phone, his ticket for the next day. She goes, I was really supposed to come back tomorrow, but I couldn't wait, so I got an earlier flight. And he says, I am so glad you did. And that's when he showed her he had a flight out, so they would have missed each other in the air, right? So of course they end up, kissy facing, and at least they don't wear out the couch. Okay, they will use the sheet, right? They'll use the bed. Thank you, Emma and Gio. Show them how it's done. Brooklyn, she of course finished talking to Chase, and he says, "Are you giving me an ultimatum?" And she looked at him. She says, "Of course I'm not giving you an ultimatum, Chase. I'm giving you a choice." I like the way she did that. She says, no, it's not an ultimatum. It's a choice. The choice is you carry out on this vendetta. She said, because that is really what it is, Chase. No, it's justice. The justice is, he framed her. It didn't work. He tried to keep her kids from her, and he kept them from her for way too long, just because he had the power to do so. And Brooklyn's just looking at him. She says, but the kids are reunited with their mother now. Chase, it's not on you to find Drew's shooter. Not in your current position, right? She says, now, if you keep pursuing it, you're going to lose everything. You're going to lose being an officer, ever being a detective again. Everything you've worked for will be gone. I'm going to tell you that. That's what's going to happen. And with that our chance of having a family, because we are being scrutinized. And on top of that, Chase, I do not want to bring a child into a toxic relationship where your main priority is a vendetta. So, of course, you know what Chase said. No, no, I can promise you, Brooklyn, you and us having a family is my priority. I won't let nothing get in the way of that, least of all me, right? Of course, he's gonna tell her that. So they end up kissy facing because she's like, whew, this was a hard conversation to have. I'm so happy to hear you say this. Of course, you're happy to hear him say it. And he was more than happy to say it, Brooklyn. Dante hasn't gotten a hold of him yet, and neither has the DA. So I think that's tomorrow, right? Because Chase has skated so far. We have Cody calls Molly down to the brown dog. She comes down, and she's wondering what's this about. So he slaps her manuscript, her book, on the table, and she looked at it, and he goes, I read your book. And she sits down. She goes, all of it? And they both are sitting down. He goes, yeah, all of it. She's looking. He says, and it's a really good book, Molly. It is a really good book. And I mean, he is pointing out, you could tell he's in a book club because he's using all book club lingo. Okay, right? And he talks about the transition of the character, and he talks about, inner turmoil that the female lead had. I mean, he just went deep. And she's just like, I can't believe you've really analyzed. He even got her to see a point she hadn't thought of, right? And so he used the term, eh, kind of referencing, I guess, what happened in Pride and Prejudice to the main characters there. And when he said what he said, she goes, "Wait a minute. Have you been reading Pride and Prejudice?" And he said, "Yeah, finished it." He goes, "We finished it." And he goes, "Me and the ladies finished it." And she goes, "Ladies, what ladies?" And he told her, "I'm in a book club and we just finished it." And then he talked about the next book they're getting ready to read. He's getting all into reading, right? So he says, and once you publish, if you decide to publish, I've already told him about your book. We're going to read it too. So she's smiling. So, needless to say, he says, Molly, it was childish of me to read only 2 chapters, barely 2 chapters, and judge your whole intent, judge the outcome. He says, because you are right. I mean, it changes. So he goes, so that's what I wanted to tell you. But look, I got to get back home because when he named the name of the book they're reading next, he goes, it won't read itself. He leaving, not drinking. He ain't getting drunk because he got to read, report to the ladies, right? So he's heading for the door. She's sitting at the booth and she looks at him and she goes, Cody. Molly jumps up. And of course, oh, she has to grab and kiss, kiss, kiss. So we got 3 couples kissing today. Now, Britt and Jason meet up and talk at their same little office, harbor building, whatever. Okay. And she gives him an update about Colum, and he tells her Colum talked to him at the WSB office, and he goes, he was fishing for information on you and us, and he told her what she said, and she told him how Colin visited her, and now they're ready to go into a prototype, and it better work or she's dead. And she's like, I got to get my medication. And so Jason says, yeah, we got to figure out a way. And she goes, well, somebody's willing to help. And he goes, who? And she said, Lucas. And he's like, look, he goes, yeah, he overheard Marco and Sidwell talking. And of course, he confronts Marco, tells him everything he heard. And Marco tells him not everything, but, enough. And Lucas knows they're keeping my medication, like holding it over my head. So he's going to try to find where they're storing it and, get him a vial to reverse engineer. So Jason said, I don't like that Lucas is involved. He says, however, he's our best lead. He's right in there. So we're gonna have to hope he comes through. She goes, and if he doesn't, Jason said, we'll figure something else out, right? So she's smiling and she's like, I like the way you're saying we, and we'll figure something out. What's interesting, I don't know how they're gonna write Steve Burton's 2-month exit. It's going to be interesting because he just hugged Britt today and said, I'm not leaving you again. So they better write it that somehow he and Britt are going away trying to get the drug backwards engineered or something. I'm hoping he takes her with him on his little hiatus, but Lord knows, you never know what's going to happen because Britt is knee deep in a storyline back at the hospital, right? Now, Carly talks to Valentine. She brought him some food from the Metro Court, some manager special he loved. She's bringing him food he loved now. And she told him about Lucas, told him their plan that got her into Windermere is not going to really work because Lucas told her to stay away from Windermere. And he's like, well, you need to get him to change his mind. She said, he's not going to change his mind. She's saying, and now that she goes, he told Marco everything he overheard. And he goes, I thought you said your brother was smart. you know? And he goes, so what if Marco tells his father? She goes, Lucas feels Marco won't, but he's adamant for me staying away from there. Some project they're working on, is nearing, is progressing, you know. So he goes, I wonder what are they working on? He knows Valentine already knows something because remember, Brennan was trying to get information out of Valentine. He knows it has something to do with Cesar Faison's final project because Valentine told Brennan that. So anyway, he and Carly are kind of at a standstill now as to what do they do next. And she goes, but I gotta warn my brother. He says, warn my brother. So Valentine said, Carly, do me a favor. If in fact you do decide to tell Lucas, warn Lucas, tell Lucas that we're trying to do whatever. He said, give me a heads up. Promise me you'll give me a heads up first. And she said, why? So you could run? He said, absolutely. He said, because Carly, I'm not going back to prison. And if you tell Lucas, things are going to spiral and I cannot be here. Mm-mm. So he goes, just remember, what you do is crucial. Could put my daughter in danger and it could put your daughter in danger. She goes, but my brother's in danger. He says, your brother is an adult and your brother, even though her daughter's an adult too, and your brother has made the choice to stay. Okay. You may not want to hear this, but your brother's on his own, Carly. And she's just looking. Mm-hmm. Let's see. This was oh, then Lucas calls Ava to come to the hospital, talk to him. She goes, I would have gladly come out to Spoon Island to talk to you. He goes, what I want to say, no, has to be here. He tells her, stay away from Sidwell. Sidwell's dangerous, blah, blah, blah. He is just, now he didn't tell Ava, I overheard, something XYZ. She goes, Carly has gotten to you, hasn't she? He says, well, some of the stuff my sister said, she has a point. No, don't let her get in your head, Lucas. And she goes, and no, Sidwell's right now is my most profitable client. I'm not about to distance myself from that. And he goes, I love you, Ava, and I want you safe. She goes, and I love commissions. She goes, and I will be safe. Lucas, you forget I used to be in that world. I know how to handle myself. So he just looks at her because Ava's going to do what Ava's going to do. Now, last but not least, this was, to me, the most unnecessary, unlikely, unneeded scene of the show today because we already know what they're doing. They're Kim testing Dante and Elizabeth, and in the real world, Elizabeth's too old for Dante, right? Different generation than Dante. Lulu was Nicholas's baby sister. Elizabeth was with the Nicholas crew. Lulu was with the Maxie Georgie thing, right? Or in with that age, Dylan. Dante was somewhere in there, just a smidgen older, right? The Brooklyn, Lulu. They're not Elizabeth's generation, right? He comes, can I speak to you? So sits down and she thought he wanted an update on Rocco. And she goes, Rocco's one of my favorite, um, not interns, she's my favorite, I forget the name of it, volunteers that I've worked with. He's so conscientious and he does a great job. And he goes, well, that's nice to hear, but I'm not here talking about that. And I'm not here as a police officer. I'm here as a friend. And I want to talk to you about Michael and Willow. She looked at him. She goes, well, what? Now I know how was Willow when she lived with you? And then when Michael came by to see her that day, I mean, how was he? And Elizabeth's kind of looking at him like, well, how do I answer that? Willow was fine. She was, struggling when her kids got stripped away from her. She was struggling. Um, I mean, Michael, I can't speak for as to him what he's about, but rather surprised he took the stance on no, he wasn't going to let her see the kids at all. And she says, but I mean, he says, okay, well, my question is this. Who do you think either one of them shot Drew, could have shot Drew? And she looks at him. I'm thinking, Dante, you idiot. She testified on Willow's behalf, bozo. So of course she didn't think Willow did it. Why would you ask Elizabeth? Does she think your brother did it? I was just like, he said, because I mean, I'm dealing with Chase and Michael, and they have this huge conflict, and I'm trying to deal with both the guys. Again, what did that have to do with Elizabeth? That was just such an unlikely person he would have went to or should have went to have that ridiculous conversation that she could never have given a definitive answer to. So as she gets up, she goes, well, and her phone chimed, text message. And so she takes it out of her pocket. He stands up. She goes, oh, okay, well, listen. He goes, I know you're busy. You got to go. She goes, yes, I do. I got to get back to work. She says, okay, well, I'll see you later, Dante. And she walks away. And he's looking at her like, yeah, yes, you will. Or sooner rather than later. Some crap he said that he wants to see her again. And I thought, that is reaching. That is an unlikely pairing. And it came out of left field. That out of that one stupid, stinking conversation he had with Elizabeth, he's now looking at Elizabeth with some kind of interest in his eyes. What kind of sense does that make? Ever, right? But see, they're only doing that because they always like to have triangles with soap opera. They know Rick and Elizabeth are getting closer, but they don't want to make it that easy. So we got to throw Dante in the mix. No, if you're throwing Dante in anybody stupid mix, you throw him in the Nathan and Lulu mix. Period. He and Lulu have history. He broke it off with Lulu after what she did with the Geo situation. He has a connection with Lulu via Rocco. All he's got to do is really just start turning around. Even though now she's looking at Nathan, but her heart was set on Dante for how long? Anyway, that's it, everybody. Nothing else really happened. If I missed something in comment corner, don't say, don't say you forgot to talk about A and B as your comment. You want to know why? Because now the people, the viewers, the comment corner commenters and readers don't know what you're talking about, don't know what happened. If I forgot to talk about it, all you do is say, oh, you know what? There was a great scene, and there was a scene between A and B, and this is what happened. Say what happened. Because I'm not going to talk about every single scene on the show. But it's important if you feel it was a significant one that I missed, say what it is. Don't just say you forgot to talk about Tim and Tara. Well, okay. What did Tim and Tara do? Right? So, anyway, everybody, I should be back tomorrow. Hopefully, you know how it is when you move to a new place. Internet's supposed to be ready, on and popping, and you get there, and guess what's not on and popping? The internet. So hopefully things go smoothly. Um, I will definitely try to get that video, the daily recap, up tomorrow. Otherwise, I will get it up as soon as I possibly can. So everybody, have a great rest of your evening.